Hey. Hello and welcome to the weekend edition of Evening Crypto with your host, your boy, the real Sean 256. And tonight we are going to talk about the news mainly because there is something going around, a big buzz around the cryptosphere. Two things, but the first thing, oddly enough, is there is a 51% attack going on the BCH Bitcoin Cash chain. That is something that's been buzzing around the crypto sphere for the last 7 or 8 hours, and no real editorial, no real, um, should we call outlet, crypto outlet like CCN or whoever you want to bring up is not talking about it. Maybe it's because it's the weekend. It is a Saturday in the U.S. It's still October 26th. It is about 9:20 in the evening on the West Coast, and yeah, mainly or probably due to the fact that it is Saturday evening, and these outlets are probably paying attention or not paying attention. Um, that no one has really commented about this or released any sort of a press release or article detailing the last happening or the last event or this last attack on the BCH blockchain. Now, if we remember in recent past, we saw that there was a 51% attack, sort of a benign attack on the BCH chain, but it was to actually reverse a certain string of illegitimate transactions, and therefore it was in entire benefit of the BCH community. There were mainly two mining pools that coordinated the attack again to dismiss or reorg the chain so that these transactions would not actually take place, and the people trying to scam the chain would not get away with it. So again, it was sort of a benign attack that happened back around May 19th, May 18th of this year. And now we see another attack on the BCH blockchain as of a few hours, about 8 hours ago or so. And the for the main part, for the most part, the entire crypto sphere has been very quiet about this. Nothing really popping up anywhere. I tried to do Google search. I went on Reddit, several other outlets, and there is absolutely nothing being posted except for this is actually kind of how I found out. I saw a tweet by Mr. Antonopoulos, and he pretty much referred us to the actual, and we're gonna head to Twitter to actually follow the thread as to what is going on and how is this happening, and you'll see here in just a second. It leads me to believe that this is actually a malignant attack on the chain as opposed to the last benign attack back in May. And I'll read through the thread because I do think it is important to catch everything that these folks are saying at hash.fail. Um, in order for us to be able to really get a complete picture of what's going on. These guys are following very quickly. They have access to developers within the Bitcoin Cash community. In fact, there was a phone conversation that happened earlier today in where these folks here at hash.fail, zero nonsense, actually spoke on the phone with one of the contributors to the BCH blockchain. So let's get right into it. We'll actually, after this, we'll go into some of the charts. Obviously, Bitcoin went up to the tune of about 43% total in a matter of about 12 hours, 15 hours maybe. Yesterday, I did not get a chance to do a video, so I am actually coupling these two pieces of news for tonight's video. We'll talk about what could have caused the big, just huge reaction on Bitcoin? I'll tell you this, give you a little bit of a teaser. It was not anything technically inclined or technically driven. I'll tell you that much right now. I've actually taking a lot of time to sort of digest what's going on, look in the crypto sphere to peers in the trading community, crypto trading community specifically, and so try to gather some sort of consensus as to how this happened, what happened, why it happened, and I'll give you guys my take on what has been going on and why we saw such a huge just reaction on Bitcoin side, and overall the entire crypto sphere just completely just benefiting from what happened recently. So like I said, we'll cover this part in the beginning of this video, and then the latter part will be, we'll be talking about the chart. So let's get right into it. After looking deeper into this issue, this is an enormous cause of concern, as the entity in question on Bitcoin Cash blockchain essentially has full control over the chain at this point in time. Here's the thread, right? This isn't too relevant, I don't think. An unknown Bcash miner apparently now controls 50%. Okay, we know that. Skipping to the chase here, the address in question can be found here. So this is the, actually, let's go to this image here. Pay attention to this address here ending in 5xcn. That is the recipient address. That will become relevant here in just a moment. So for BCH, there is no attribution in block headers. We can make a very educated guess about who mined a given block just by looking at the address, the receiving address in the Coinbase transaction, the block reward, and or also by looking at the mining pools that signed these blocks, right? And here he goes to where we can actually find that information and validate it, right? With the address in question that we're looking at, it has been the recipient of countless Coinbase rewards. So it's more than reasonable to suggest that whatever entities is attached to, connected, working in unison. So if we go here, we can actually see. Now, keep in mind, folks, like Bitcoin, BTC, BCH, Bitcoin Cash, their block sizes obviously are different, but the block time is the same. They are algorithmically designed to find a block every 10 minutes. The mining difficulty adjusts up and down to keep that 10-minute block time. Now, we have seen this entity here, this address here, or entities control the chain for about a total of 24 blocks at the time of reporting these guys. Hash fail, at the time they reported this, these people have had control, or have had control of the chain for about 24 blocks. Now, typically you would see that there's about 6 blocks to an hour. Well, these folks found about 24 blocks in a matter of 2 hours. 2 hours, right? So they are mining at twice the computational power, hashing power, that is, that anybody else on the chain is actually doing so. And I mean, if we go back here and look at these, let's go to the second page. I mean, same address, same recipient address, the same people controlling the chain at that point, just dominating the chain and receiving all of the rewards, the block rewards, time and time again. So I mean, this seems like a really, really devastating blow to the chain over on BCH. We're on page, what is this now, 5? And I mean, you can see just how devastating this could be and how dangerous this is. I don't want to sit here and criticize Bitcoin Cash, but I mean, something has to be said, right? I mean, when you have, I guess, a lack of contribution from the mining community, attributing or contributing hashing power to the chain, then what happens is you have a loss in difficulty, and then you set yourself up for a 51% attack. You're more prone to have a 51% attack on your chain because of this, because there's less people mining, there's less competition, there's less hashing requirement capabilities to actually find a block. So let's continue on here. Here's a quick look at some of the most recent transactions going into the wallet address that we just mentioned. We just went over that. What's concerning is not just the fact that this address is dominating in terms of percentage of blocks found. One, it is also finding blocks at an observed rate, where we're just talking about. Between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. UTC today, this entity found 24 blocks. That is absurd. Yes, indeed. BCH has a different retargeting algorithm than BTC, different formula, but they are both still designed to manufacture adjusting difficulties that target a consistent 10-minute block time. Yes, we just talked about that. Thus, on average, there should be about 6 blocks an hour found. All right. However, with this entity finding 24 blocks in a 2-hour time span, it is not only beating out the entire network, it's pretty much broken the retargeting algorithm for BCH. This is not good. I could have told you that. Attached is the documentation on a different retard for BCH. You guys, if you want to look at the formula, it's right here. Just go to the thread and find it there. Checking coin.dance, we can see that this is the entity going as unknown, since they aren't signing any blocks, has won at least 8 of the 14 blocks. So this could be potentially the evildoer here in question. Between this entity and BTC Top, no one else has won a block on the protocol besides BTCC since block 606283. Now, BTC Top was one of the mining pools that was involved in the reorg attack back in, as we said, May 19th, May 18th of this year. These guys were actually acting on behalf of the entire BTH community and actually defending the blocks, or defending the blockchain over at BCH, and actually retracting some of those false and illegitimate transactions that were being fabricated by another evildoer, someone that also tried to take control of the chain. But then these guys, along with another a large mining pool, who at the time controlled about 50% of the chain, acted to reverse the transactions. Now, I do want to bring a point here that is worth mentioning. If somebody has, the ability to just make a phone call, speaking of BTC Top and the other mining pool that actually pulled this thing together in the name of BCH and the community, if it's that easy to compile forces and attack the chain at will, that is something that is pretty scary and is telling of a chain that is pretty shallow as far as the amount of hashing power required to dominate the chain, which again, goes to show why BCH is such a sitting duck. Gosh, can't spoke today. Sitting duck. It's BCH with the lack of miners and contribution on the miner side, it just makes it feel like BCH is just there for the taking. So it is a bit scary in my mind when I think about this sort of stuff, and just think that, how can someone just on demand just grab a hold of the entire blockchain and start mining and attacking the chain, right? So moving forward, perhaps the bigger issue here, though, is that BCH block height 606283 occurred at 3:12 p.m. Eastern GMT, which was an hour ago to the minute. Right now, BCH is at a block height 606304. I mean, look at the discrepancy between the two. So 21 blocks have been found in an hour. That's not supposed to happen. Absolutely not supposed to happen. Again, there's only supposed to be 6. Spoke with Amari Seshetz. I hope I'm pronouncing that correct. And other devs in the BCH ecosystem, they are aware of the problem. There's nothing they can do realistically uh, to remedy the situation since it is out of their hands. It is strongly recommended that users avoid transacting on or with BCH at any and all costs until this issue is resolved. Okay. Number one, this video is not about FUD. This video and this channel is about exactly the opposite. We base these videos and the content based on these sort of threads or this sort of facts or information. And again, I was having a bit of a difficult time deciding whether I should do this. I try to prepare as much as I could, but there's just not enough information out there at this point. However, this thread here says it all in my opinion. It's got all the information. We do see here the facts. We do see here the information, and so I do believe, again, in this channel, it's part of our mission to give you guys this sort of information and talk about these issues, right? So that you guys are better educated, and myself too. Now, I do want to look at BCH chart, and to be quite transparent, I have not looked at the BCH chart because I wanted to wait till I did this video. We'll just do Tether ABC on Huobi. There we go. And not affected. Not affected at all. I don't know if this is due to a lag. Not sure why the chain or why the chart would not be at all phased by the sort of news. This is sort of an event that would actually cause something like this, right? Maybe it's because the word hasn't gotten out there yet, and people are just not aware of what's going on. But as of this moment, it doesn't look like the price of or the chart is being affected. The price of BCH is being affected by this 51% attack. Again, there's a huge difference between the first one that happened this year in May and this reorg, and the reason is because, again, there's just been 24 blocks mined in a 60-minute time frame, which is very, very telling of a bad situation that's going on over there, over on the BCH chain, and maybe because it is the evening on a weekend, and these media outlets haven't caught wind of this. It's probably a good reason why the price hasn't been affected by it. And to be honest, I think that this is probably going to play in Bitcoin Cash's favor, because by the time that this actually gets out, maybe it won't have the same sort of effect, as people will rush to maybe look at the chart, look at the price, and see that it is unfazed. So this could actually play out in Bitcoin Cash's favor. All right. So I guess we'll have to wait for the news to officially break out and make it to mainstream crypto, and see what happens from there. So we'll keep our eyes open. I'll do a follow-up video, or just on the next video, I'll make sure to follow up to this bit of news, and yeah, we'll go from there. But if you guys want to follow this thread, it's at my Twitter handle at the Real Shaw 256, and you guys can read this thread here there on my profile, or if you guys just want to go ahead and go straight to hash.fail, you guys can find it there as well. And in fact, let's hit the follow button so that we stay abreast of any updates with these guys. All right, so what happened to Bitcoin, right? Well, I can tell you this much: it was not a statistical probability. Just from a TA standpoint, it was not in the cards. And also, I have taken the last 24 hours to really digest again, and also talk to some peers, read as much as possible out of the information that's out there in regards to what happened, how this came about. Did anyone, have some sort of indicator? And the honest truth is, no one saw this coming. I think the consensus is lands on the fact that, yeah, no one saw this coming. It is not something that you could have alluded to just by looking at the chart and just doing your good old technical analysis. Actually, let's bring back our drawing tools here. As we've been talking in this channel, we were looking at this box to be the reversal indicator. We clearly got way above it. I mean, just to move from here to here would have been sufficient, but still very much something that I would have been very skeptical. And I was telling you guys over my last video that the move to 7,200 on the shorter term was the move to expect and that was something that would be coming sooner rather than later. That was my message to you guys on my last video. And then we saw the very next morning, we saw that Bitcoin actually started pumping above this the 0.5 and getting into the 8650 range and above. We did see it did seem for a while like it wasn't going to stay within the box, and we were actually going to go back and close some candles below this area, but then we got a second wind, or a second pump, and we went all the way up to about 10,300, and that's where things kind of cooled off. The high of that was 10,370 officially, and look at that, it actually ended on one of our previous resistance or previous support or resistance targets here. I mean, so there is a little bit of sense to be made out of this. You could technically say that a lot of these trading bots with some deep pockets behind them, really caught on to the fact that, hey, if we hit certain targets, we are definitely on buying mode, and they started deploying a lot of capital back into the market to the tune of about $60 billion, and again, less than 15 hours. We're currently settling at 241 billion for the entire market cap, but at one point we were over 260 billion. Let's actually get the official measurement on this, and for that we will have to zoom in. Come on, don't make me out to be a liar. I saw the market cap around 260. This thing's saying 258. Let's actually narrow it, zoom in a little bit more. See if we can actually catch the top. 258. Yeah, 258 seems like was CoinMarketCap is reporting 258 as the peak, right? Um, so we'll go with that. Whatever. I thought I saw it over 260, and so I mean, just about 50, let's call it $53 billion injected back into the market in less than 15 hours, from 200 from a market cap of $205 billion all the way up to 258. So quite a bit of money, quite a bit of capital being injected back into the market. Now, all right. So what can we expect going forward? Well, this again was not a natural thing. This was not organic, in my opinion. This was not something that, again, technically can be explained. In fact, I'm not looking for a technical explanation at this point. The only thing that we can really speak to, and you guys know me, I don't like to say this sort of stuff, but in this case, I mean, really, there's nothing to look at except the fact that the president or prime minister of China going out and really speaking about blockchain is the future, and China should adopt blockchain technologies, and also for their currency. We've known that for a while that China's been working on um, tokenizing their currency. And now we see an official statement from the president of China saying that we are adopting this technology. We should be enforcing it. We should be fostering it. We should definitely support the development of this industry, and also build education around it. And I mean, just the entire country just rallying behind this technology. And it seems like the Chinese government, Chinese people are going to be the first country and people to really take a deep dive into blockchain and legitimize it for the entire, I think, the entire Asian, um, the entire Asian territory. As we know, I mean, from the name Satoshi Nakamoto, we do know that Bitcoin did have Asian influence, and it seems like the wildfire started in the Asian side of the world, and it spread west through Europe and onto the States. Right? It seems like that was the organic sort of spreading of the fire. And then the U.S., as we do here, we're a consumer-driven um, country or economy. There's definitely a lot of greed in the states, and we just gobbled it up and really have been taking it by storm. And although our regulatory bodies do not seem to agree on what everybody else in this space thinks about crypto, they are taking sort of a negative and opposing stance on crypto and blockchain technology. Um, but that's neither here nor there. The Chinese really stepping up, and really giving us something to be very, very optimistic about going forward for the new year as we do get ready to close out this 2019. It does give us a lot of hope for 2020. Now, again, in this sort of case, there's really nothing else to really attribute it to. Again, from a technical standpoint, nobody saw this coming. There's no way you could have plotted this. I mean, honestly, when I was watching it, and I did see it on the daily hit the 200, hit the 200 here, and it started to retrace back down. I mean, that was just that at that point that can still be technically explained, right? We did see it hit the 200 and then retrace back and sort of struggle between the 21 and the 200. Also, another big thing that I was talking about here in this channel is the death cross that was looming. We did, excuse me, we did come quite close to actually doing the death cross. This move alone would have, in my opinion, would have stalled the death cross. But then we do see here that we actually broke way above what we really needed to avoid in order to avoid this death cross. Um, and just, I mean, getting just sky high as far as the price of Bitcoin goes, and just amazing. Just, I mean, I'm at a loss for words for really what happened, and really feel humbled by this whole experience, by what Bitcoin has done in the last 24 hours. Definitely left me on the sidelines just watching the whole thing. I did have a little bit of a position left, but I started de-risking right at 265, 200, the 200 EMA, and right around our target. Again, because I was sticking to my guns and sticking to my strategy. Right, this was the point where I was thinking that Bitcoin was going to stall out, and thus I started to de-risk at these areas. And surely I did not stick around for a move all the way up to 10,370. I don't know who saw that coming. I can tell you whoever said that they saw this coming is probably a liar, um, unless it's some sort of the big whale, right? The big kahuna in the market, just manipulating the crap out of it. Which is why we will never get an ETF, right? Which I am not sad or um, happy about. I don't care about an ETF. I don't. I mean, look at how much we've done, how much this industry has grown, and what we're doing in the industry. So many, so many good things that have happened in the last 10 years since the inception of Bitcoin. We don't need an ETF. That's my stance. If we do get it, that'll just be a great plus. But there's just no sign that Bitcoin's going to die because we don't have an ETF. So I really could care less if we have it or not. I don't care. Where I'm still going to trade it whether we have an ETF or not. I'm still going to be a proponent of this crypto sphere. I'm still going to trade. I'm still going to buy more. I'm still going to um, just have the most bullish mindset about this technology and this new crypto digital economy going forward. So, what to expect? I know I've been kind of going off on a tangent, so I apologize, but there's just so much to really unpack here, um, just based on the last 24 hours, everything that's happened. What to expect here? Let's actually clean this up a little bit so we can talk a little bit with a little bit more clarity here. As always, with any violent move, as we did see, and let's actually put a measurement on this from wick bottom to wick top, 42% move, right? Again, in less than 15 hours. With a violent move, again, comes a whether it's a dip or whether it's a pump. We always see that the bigger the moves, like they say, the bigger they are, the harder they fall, right? So we are seeing a huge retracement. Let's actually measure the retracement now from this point to this point, about 14 and a half, almost 15% retracement from there. Quite significant. It does seem like we're stabilizing around this area, about 9100, 9150. We've been trading in that range. Now, I do like the fact that we are now sitting on top of the 30 symbol here. That's sort of an okay sign, because this to me seems like a little more reasonable, a little more stable. Like we're really starting to settle here. Um, and two things, I mean, and this is pretty obvious, right? If we break below it, we're going to come back and sit at the 21. The 21 will be crucial because, again, the 21 and the 200 are coming in almost in confluence here. There's a little bit of a gap between the two. Now, two things. The 21 is jumping above the 200. Is obviously these are slow, or not slower, but faster moving. These are they carry less weight, so we do have two of these EMAs, or a simple moving average and an exponential moving average moving on top of the 200. That is not a golden cross, but it does mean that there's definite momentum to the upside. If we are to remain on this sort of just parabolic bullish pattern here. We're going to have to see a bounce off the 30 here. We're going to have to see another bounce. But in typical Bitcoin fashion, here's one kind of sort of, I'm going to go on a limb here, but here's kind of sort of what I'm thinking might happen, right? We're probably going to build another triangle here. And we already see the price of Bitcoin kind of sort of starting to form that from this point to this point, right? That's kind of what we can definitely see starting to shape up here. Let's change the color here. We'll see if this actually plays out, or if Bitcoin just decides to do something else. I am jumping the gun here a little bit. Okay, so definitely you're forewarned. In all honesty, I really don't know what the hell is going to happen next, but again, in typical Bitcoin fashion, this is sort of what we have seen time and time again with Bitcoin. So definitely a possibility out there, and then we could see another bounce and have this sort of thing act. I mean, I don't know yet, right? I mean, it could be this, or it could be this, right? More of a rising wedge, or maybe a triangle. We don't know. I'm just assuming that we're going to keep doing what we've been doing so many times before. We should see a bounce, although again, or maybe we do see something, also something like this, right? I doubt it, but this seems like the more likely scenario of the two. I do think that, again, if we are to remain sort of on this bullish trend, this parabolic trend, then I do want to see Bitcoin have a nice bounce off of this area. If we do break sort of this here, the 30, and this area here, that just means it was a weak move, and we are going to head back down. I mean, look at the volume here too as well. Absolute. I mean, that's $53 billion worth, right? Between this point and this point, that's about $53 billion worth. So again, just be mindful, guys. This market is so unpredictable. And now, to go back to what I was saying, with any parabolic move, there comes a huge retracement, right? Like we saw back here from 13,000 to, what is this? Or almost 14,000. We retraced immediately 24 to almost 25%, right? No stranger here. And then we bounced from this pivot low back up about 34%. And then from that point to the next pivot low, that's another 30%. Just really violent reoccurring moves, right? From this point, another 31%. From this point to this point, another 20%, right? So just expect more of the same, in my opinion. Although, again, it does look like we're starting to form this sort of triangle here. This is, again, the 4 hour. We're definitely stabilizing. Now, another good sign is, again, we're atop the 30 simple. We're still within this seems like this rising trend of support here. The RSI on the 4 hour is definitely bouncing off, or not definitely bouncing off, but definitely stabilizing on top of the 21 EMA here within the RSI. So that's a good sign. As long as we remain above it, we remain, again, bullish for another move up into this sort of area here. Okay. But I am expecting more volatility here for the next week or so, before we decide to what's going to happen here with Bitcoin. Again, this is sort of tricky because it is a long wick. Even on a 4 hour, we do see a huge wick. So, I mean, if we do find a bounce here, quite potentially we could get stopped out around the 3.8 at 9,800. This is going to be a previous area of resistance. Let's actually switch it back to the red. That area also becomes relevant now. We are trading within this range, as we do see here. I mean, this candle almost fit in between the range here, but we do see the sort of a pretty obvious range here we are trading in. And again, as long as we don't break below the 30 and this line of pricing support, I think we can still remain bullish and just be really, I guess, just be very attentive to the price action, because we might get another pump here again and retest this descending line of resistance. All right, and um, and just to talk about everything that's been going on with some of the alts, we did top off on Link. We're starting to make our way back down. We're bouncing off the 55 on the 4 hour. We should find another bounce. Now, this again, I mean, this pump also definitely looks like it just really disturbed a lot of our processes, a lot of our, this isn't technical, guys. It doesn't look technical, and it's just so frustrating to see that sort of thing, because it really throws you off completely off your game plan, and now you have to wait for sort of a settlement in price where things start to look normal again, and that could take a while. At these ranges, I just don't know. I mean, it does look like we are bouncing off the 55. Let's actually look at the 2 hours, see if the 2 hours calling it a little better. Yeah, maybe the 99 EMA there, or 100 day if you want to call it that. The 55 on the 3 hours also coming in confluence there. So yeah, I mean, just be careful now for the time being, guys. It is very unpredictable. Just very weird things happening in the crypto sphere again with China accepting it, but then there's a bad 51% attack seems to be going on BCH. So just some crazy stuff that really I think warranted a video on my part. Really felt sort of excited to bring you guys this video, but at the same time sort of at a loss for words for really what's been going on. BNB bouncing nicely, finding support at around the what is this? The 200 seems to be caught in between the 377 and the 200 here within the 4 hour. You can expect, I think, a little bit more of this, trading within this range before we actually make a decisive move. So, but again, just tread lightly, guys. Litecoin having again the same sort of reaction, and again also seems like it's sort of wanting to paint that same triangle going forward. So and we can expect a lot of these charts to look the same. I mean, same thing can be said for Ethereum. Let's actually look at Cardano. It's looking the same. Again, just tread lightly until we find some sort of really settlement, some solid ground, and we can get back to technicals. I don't like it when, again, personally, I don't like it when we get out of the technicals. We'll have to wait again for confirmation and see if this move was actually legit, and we can actually work with this. Again, if this holds true, then we can start to play this as a triangle. Okay. All right, guys. I hope I wasn't too depressing. Like I said, I'm sort of at a loss for words for everything that's been going on. But you guys can definitely feel free to cheer me up down below in the comments. Hopefully you got something out of this video in return for your time here. Hope that it was well spent. And remember to hit the subscribe button down below and hit the bell notification so you to get notified when I put out this content. And again, thank you so much for joining. Your boy, the Real Sean 256, signing out. See you guys on our next one.